Okay, hello friends and welcome to Career Talk. In Career Talk, we invite industry experts to share their valuable interview experience with all of us. And today I'm glad Divya is joining us from Bangalore, India. And today she is going to help us with most asked business analyst interview questions. So thanks Vidya and welcome to Career Talk.
Thank you, Sanan. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to share my knowledge with a lot of the people over there.
Great, Divya. Thank you. So if you allow, shall we start?
Yes, yes, sure.
Okay. So, friends, before we start, all these questions are shared with a lot of people who are there in our WhatsApp group. So, if you also want to join, please do let me know. You can drop me an email at Sunan Sharma, and I will put the link in the description. You can just go and watch it over there. Okay, so Divya, the very first one is, and I think it is very important, is scope of a PA in Agile. So, what is your take on that, Divya?
Before understanding the scope of BA in Agile, let's see who is a BA. Business analyst is a person who actually understands the client's business, and then he understands the pinpoints, elicitates various the requirements, and provide the solutions for the organization. So, as we all know, the Agile is based on 4 values and 12 principles. From IIBA perspective, there are seven principles where BA has to understand to work as an agile BA. Let's take a look of the 7 principles. The first one is think as a whole, see as a whole. It means that the business analyst has to understand the entire business of the customer to understand where the pain point starts. Whether he's developing a small component or a complete solution, he should be able to develop a solution that is valuable to the customer's business and enhance the business. So it means that the business analyst should be able to prioritize the user stories along with the product owner. And the second one is think as a customer. The business analyst should always think in the shoes of a customer. He has to understand the desirability, the demand of the feature he's going to develop, and the feasibility, how easily he can develop, and then the usability. Though there is a demand and feasibility, sometimes the solution which is developed might not be user friendly for the customer. So he should understand this, and he should understand basically the customer demographics, where he is going to implement the product, at what age group, at what location. So he has to consider all these things while developing a product. And the third one is see he has to analyze what valuable is being delivered. It means that the product which he is delivering, he has to understand from the demos that being taken care, and he also ensures the process which is used to deliver this product is value adding. So he has to make use of the retrospectives and demos that are being happened, in order to ensure the valuable product is shippable to the customer. And the next one is get real using examples. So while he's communicating with the developers, he should not give theoretical wordings or theoretical examples for the to developers to develop the product. He has to show the real world examples and scenarios in order to understand the product which the developers are developing. So this helps him in ensuring setting a good acceptance criteria while developing the product. And then he should avoid the wastage. Normally in the traditional waterfall method, we have so much of documentation that is being done. So he should make sure in agile methodology the documentation is very limited. We don't say it is not required, but it is limited, and he should make sure the important things are documented. And the next one is stimulate collaboration with continuous improvement. So while developing the product or any solution, communication is very important. So he's the main person who has to communicate for both forward back top stream and bottom stream of the organization, different stakeholders of the organization. So it is his responsibility to make sure that all the people are on the same boat while developing the solution. And the next one is he has to understand the doable. It means that the requirements which he is taking from the customer, he should be able to analyze whether that requirement is capable by the team to be developed. Suppose there is a web application which they have asked, and now they are asking to develop a mobile application. So he has to he should be very sure the team which he has technology, technical requirements, infrastructure, and all, and as well as the development knowledge of the mobile application. So he has to understand all these principles while working as an agile BA.
Thanks, Divya, for this great explanation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I like it. Okay. Okay. So the second one is a little interesting and it's very important. And the question is, what is a requirement? What do you understand by the requirement? How you are going to explain a requirement?
Yeah. A requirement is something the business needs to have in order to sustain in the business. There are various requirements like business requirements. They say why this requirement is needed for the business to exist there, and then the stakeholder requirements. These are the requirements demanded by various stakeholders, and we have solution requirements. What solutions we are being developed to address the business problems, and we have the functional and the non-functional requirements. So these are the various features that are being addressed for the particular solution. So when we say a requirement as a BA, they have to understand the requirement life cycle as well. So the requirement life cycle begins with formulating the need into the requirement. It continues throughout the solution being designed, and then ends when the solution is completely retired. It means that there is no retirement for the solution for the requirement unless the solution is disposed by the customer saying that this solution is no longer used for me. So this is a requirement life cycle which the BA needs to understand, and there are several tasks that BA has to perform during this life cycle management. So the different tasks are traceability. The requirements needs to be traced starting from the capturing the requirements right to the delivery of the requirement to the stakeholder, and then maintaining the requirements. He should make sure that the requirements are accurate and correct throughout the life throughout the development process, so that he can be so that the particular requirement can be used wherever appropriate. And then prioritizing the requirements should be prioritized based on the urgency of the stakeholder requirement, and he should and he requirement changes, assessing the requirement changes. Once the solution has been deployed or while working in the solution, there would be changes. He should be able to assess whether the change is valuable or not, whether the change has to be addressed or not. So, and then the requirement approval. Once the requirement is finalized, there are different stakeholders who gives approval for the particular requirement. So as a BA, he has to ensure all these tasks were performing while capturing the requirements.
Great. Thanks, Divya. Okay. So the follow-up question on this, like, what's the difference between a need and a requirement?
Yes. Need is a something that is an opportunity in the business to be addressed. Require and any the need and the requirement are not equal. The need should be formulated into a requirement. Today, whatever the mobile apps or the internet banking applications or many other software solutions which we are using have been evolved out of a need of the customer or the business. For example, we developed a mobile application, internet banking application. So every bank wants to give a better service to the customer. They wanted to reduce the waiting time for their customers, and they want to increase their sales. So this was the need for the bankers to develop an internet application. Even the online reservation system or any other WhatsApp group, WhatsApp communication system, whatever may be, the software apps the mobile apps which we are using are evolved out of the need for the business and the customer.
Okay. And if I'm going to ask you that, how are you going to write a good quality requirement? What is take to make it?
Yeah. Uh, the BA should be always very much keen in writing the requirement, because that is a basic that serves as a basis for the development of the product. So writing a good requirement is necessary for the to deliver a right product to the customer, and as well as it is important for the development team to understand it, and even it is for the testers to test that requirement. So now when we say writing a good requirement, we normally follow the acronym called SMART. S stands for specific. We need to be very specific what kind of requirement we are developing. Suppose we are developing a dashboard for an organization. So we should be very specific what KPIs you are going to show on the dashboard. So that is that is a specific requirement for the dashboard. And M stands for measurable. So measurable in the sense how much, what is the cost you are going to put in developing that requirement, and then how much, what are the man hours, how many people are required to develop that requirement. So it should be a measurable. A stands for attainable. So you should be able to attain that requirement, and it should be R stands for realistic. It means that it should be within the project scope. Suppose you are developing a dashboard that it should be developed in a Power BI. You cannot go in the middle and say I want this dashboard in Tableau. So that is a realistic within the projects. We need to check whether it is in the project scope or not. T stands for testable. Testable, once the requirement which has been developed, we need to test it whether it has whether it is serving the purpose of the customer or not. So we need to follow this while writing the requirements. And the guidelines which we follow while writing the requirements are, it should be very simple, and it should be in a simple English, and it should be consistent all over the document or wherever you're mentioning that requirement, and it should contain all necessary details of the requirement. So for example, if I'm saying I'm developing a register page, I want to develop a register page for a mobile internet application or something. So you cannot you cannot say the register page should contain all necessary details. It doesn't give any idea for the developer or the tester what details it needs to capture. So you have to mention, I need a register log page we're having with first name, last name, email ID, time, and all the necessary, what all details you wanted in that register page, you need to mention it clearly. So this is a good requirement.
Really good, Divya. The way you have explained with the example is really good.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on to the next one. Okay, what's a use case? Could you just give some example? What's a use
Yeah.
case?
Use case is actually used to document the requirements in the waterfall methodology. Whereas in agile methodology, we use user stories in documenting the requirements. So use cases are generally documented in FRDs, and it contains a lot of information and lot of information, and it is time consuming. We follow a template for capturing the use case. It contains the use case name for and then the description. It has a basic flow, alternate flow, exceptional flow, prior condition, and post conditions. Suppose you are developing a reservation app for a hotel table, for hotel table reservation. The use case name would be reserving the table on the selected date. And next now you have to understand what is a prior condition. Prior condition is you need to register with that app in order to reserve the table in that particular restaurant. So what is a basic flow? And when I select a particular date and give the number of seats, it should show how many seats are available on that particular date. And if you are satisfied with the output of the result that system is giving, it is happy path, and and the reservation is completed. That is a basic flow. In case if it is in case of if you are not having the number of seats that are available on that particular date, you wanted to select on the other date. So this is an alternative flow. So you are selecting the other date, and the other date gives the tables which you wanted, and you select it, and that would be the end of that reservation. In case the customer now doesn't want on the other day, he just when he sees that the number of tables available or not there, he just exits. So that is a exceptional flow. So the use case contains all these all this information which is actually used for the developer while developing the program.
Great. Thanks, Divya. Okay, next one is again most asked question, and that is like you have to tell us few documents or templates or different reports or matrices which as a business analyst which you use in your day-to-day work.
Yes. Actually, while in a project, we have many documents. So we have different phases as well. Pre-project phase, we develop a business case development case study. This case study actually addresses why we are actually taking up that project, or what is the benefit out of that project. It gives a brief introduction of that. And then in implementation phase, we have BRDs, business requirement documents, which give high level requirement document. And then a system requirement document which gives a detailed overview of the product, functional requirement documents and the non-functional requirement documents, which are granular level of the requirements that are being addressed. And we have user manuals and training manuals that are given to the users once a product has been developed. And in the enhancement or support phase, we have change request documents as well. If there is any change in the requirement that has been implemented, this document is needed in order to provide a good justification about the change it is asking, and then who are the requesters of the change, and what are the necessary approvals, so in order to implement the change. And we also have a change tracker in order to track all these changes, various changes that have been taken to various requirements. So mainly these are different documents which BA is always responsible for.
Great. Thanks, Divya. Okay, this one is again most asked. What are functional and non-functional requirement, and how do you capture them? And
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah, functional requirements or the granular level of the requirements, they actually give us detail on data and behavior of the system. It means that what data is needed from the respective from the user, and then how the system has to behave on that data. It basically shows the flow of this different screens in a particular software solution. And while there are the guidelines which we need to follow while writing the functional requirements are, you have to give a positive flow, the negative flow, and the data dictionary, and then non-functional requirements. Normally we use an Excel to document these functional requirements. So the positive flow, as I said, you're trying to book a flight ticket. The positive flow is like you have given different filters like date, uh, from, to, and then the price. So the app gives you the necessary flights available on that particular date, and then you're able to book the flight. The negative flow is when the app is not able to match the search which you have given. So what the system has to do in that negative flow, you should mention that. Data dictionary is you have given a different fields while booking an app, while booking the flight, like name and from, to, locations. So you have if you say one way, you have a small circle saying radio button. You should say mention whether it should be a radio button or checkbox, depending on the app you have designed. So this is a data dictionary which you have to give for the developers to understand. So non-functional requirements are like they are the requirements which give the quality of the product and the performance of the product. It should be security. They can be the security, browser compatibility requirements. In this case, it can be when you click search on the flight, how many seconds the app should display the result of your search. So these are the non-functional requirements. Yeah.
great. Thanks. Okay, and what about difference between a BRD and an SRS?
Business requirement documents are a high level requirement document. Business, it is basically prepared at the planning phase. So the various stakeholders who use this requirement, this BRD, is like top level management and middle level management. They give overall picture why you're taking the this project, and what is the scope of this project, and what are the assumptions, risks that you're taking in developing this project. This gives a overall high level view of this, why the project is being taken on. Whereas SRS is like it is also called as product requirement document. You can say it a product requirement document as well. It gives the overall picture of the product, what are the various modules in the product you're going to include. And it is used by technical leads, SMEs, and project managers in order to understand what are the various modules you are developing in this project. And we actually prepare functional and non-functional requirement documents from this SRS document.
Thanks, Divya. Okay, friends, before we move on to the next question, if you have seen this video till now, you have to hit like. The way Divya is explaining, I really enjoying all these answers, and hopefully you guys are also enjoying it. So at least एक like तो बनता है, friends. Okay, so let's move on, Divya.
Yeah.
The next question is about again a very important topic, that's risk management. So how you going to manage a risk as a BA in a different project? And if you can share a couple of examples, that will be also great.
Yeah, sure. So actually, before going for the risk management, we all know in the project we have a triple constraint like scope, budget, and time, which has an impact on the quality. So any changes in these three constraints that would cause an event that would cause the risk for the project, and the quality might be affected. So first, we as project management plan has a different plans like time management plan, budget management plan, scope management plan, and risk management plan is also a subset of this project management plan. So this plan is basically consists of bef- uh, basically consists of various sections like what are the risk it is going to, what are the risk we need to address. So before for the various steps involved in risk management are, we need to identify the risk and then do qualitative and quantitative analysis. We need to plan the response for this risk and then communicate to the necessary stakeholders. So how do we identify the risk? The risk can be identified from the various documents we have like project charter, scope, and then expert judgments and the previous projects of similar project risk registry. So based on all this, we can identify the risk. And once the risk is identified, we need to do qualitative analysis. The qualitative analysis is something like we need to see the probability of occurrence of that risk and what is the impact. When we multiply this probability and the impact, we get a risk score. Based on this risk score, we prioritize it. So when we prioritize it, we have the risk which are on the top of the list um, uh, are, are required further analysis, and the risk which are in the bottom of the list are should be kept under the watch. So once the risk are which on the top of the list, now we need to go for quantitative analysis. Quantitative analysis is like a numerical analysis, which there is different analysis like probability analysis, sensitivity analysis, and you arrive a number, seeing that whether suppose it is a cost risk, we have to check whether the cost amount which we are expecting as a risk is lying in our threshold value, or it's above the threshold value. So once we identify this, now we need to go plan the response. I mean, we need to take the response strategy. So there are different responses strategies for this. One, it is avoiding the risk. So if you feel that the risk which is going to completely make your project deviate from the scope, you should be very conscious and then avoid it. And the second one would be like mitigating the risk, making the necessary changes, so that you're not completely deviating from the scope, but at least you're able to handle a little bit deviation from the scope. And the other one is transferring the risk. Transferring the risk is like your like what we do in our daily life, like taking an LIC insurance. So in the same way, you can have a consulting firm tie up, or you can outsource that particular event which is causing deviating in the scope. So that is a transferring the risk. And the final one is you have no other option than accepting the risk. So based on the type of the risk you have identified in your quantitative analysis, you have to take any one of these decision. And the final one is the communicating the risk. So you have to communicate about the risk to the necessary stakeholders to make them aware that this is the thing which is going to happen. We have to follow these steps. So this is how we normally do risk assessment, yeah, risk management.
Great. Thanks, Divya. Okay, let's move on. Next one is what's the use of UML?
Okay. UML is an unified modeling language, which is actually used to construct the system, which is used to construct, design the system or the software products and prototypes. Business analysts basically use UML uh, to see the present process, and then understand what changes can be taken and understand the behavior of the system. So basically, the benefits of UML is it is easily understandable, and everyone can and you can you and it helps in easy documentation. And there are two types of UML diagrams which we use: structural and behavioral UML diagrams. Structural diagrams are basically used by the developers. It consists of classes, components, and everything. Behavioral UML diagrams are used to understand the behavior of the system, with the system itself, the users, and the other system. So BA basically uses use case diagrams for use case diagrams. The most widely used UML diagram by BA is a use case diagram. So use case diagram is like it shows how the users will interact with the system. So it has four components. One is the oval, which where the use case is represented in a oval, and rectangle. It represents the boundary of the system. So what the process is taken inside the system is shown in that rectangle, and the relationships are represented with arrow. And the actors are the users. It can be an external user or the internal user or any external system. It is represented by the stick figure. So it gives overall understanding. The main reason why we use UML diagrams is it is easily understandable for everyone, and it also avoids the cost escalation once it is implemented. It gives us a brief, it's very easily depictable from the diagram where we can need changes.
Great, Divya. Okay, the next one is what's the purpose of RTM, requirement traceability matrix?
Okay. Requirement traceability matrix is used to trace the requirements. It helps in tracing forward and backward of the requirement as well. Basically, it provides the traceability right from the business requirement. It has been captured, and then it changing into the functional requirement, and then the design component, and finally it is tested and delivered to the customer. So requirement traceability matrix is not alone maintained by the BA. It is maintained along with the test architect, developers, and everyone. For example, if we take a banking app, so in a banking app, the account transfer would be a banking application would be a business requirement. So when we the in BR, when we want to develop a balance module in that, we have different features in that: the account transfer, the available balance, add a payee. These are the different features. So these features are connected to each use case that has been mentioned in the FRD, and this each use case has a design component as well, which has been designed by test architect. And once this design component has been developed, it is linked to a program which program we are developing using a Java or .NET. And once this program has been developed, it is linked to the test case, giving what how leading to different test scenarios. And then finally it goes to the, once the all the test scenarios have been executed, and and it is gone with it has met the acceptance of the customer, it is implemented. So it shows the entire journey of the requirement, right from capturing to the delivery of the that requirement to the customer.
Great. Thanks, Divya. Okay, so friends, this is just part one of this session. We have three more parts, or I don't know, maybe four parts, Divya. The way you are explaining the things, I really enjoying it, and so do
Thank
our
you.
audience, I'm sure. So, friends, this is just first part. So do subscribe and turn on the notification so you will get the notification for part two. And at least I have learned a lot of things today from Divya, sorry. So thanks a lot, Divya, and yeah, see you soon.
Thank you, Sanan. Yeah.
Thanks, everyone. Bye. Have a nice day.